Good evening. And here we are opening another London closed class. And our students around the world will be particularly happy, that is, if we live up to their expectations, because the previous classes, more especially those of the last 3 years, have been among the most popular, if we can use the word popular, of our classworks. They are well liked, and students in all of the countries are studying these London classes. Last year we added to the London class a very special Manchester class. And I must tell you that last year's London and Manchester work is still being studied, and still letters coming of the depth of the classwork in these two cities. And so we have much to live up to, because I know from my mail that students are looking forward to these tapes. And so it becomes necessary to give them a good class. You will help considerably. First of all, in framing your questions, be sure to write out your questions so that I can readily read them, and then have them up here on the desk any night during this classwork. And in framing those questions, think. If the answers are to be found readily in the writings, then search for them there. But if they are of a nature that will benefit all of us in the classwork, and not only here but around the world, let us have those questions, because it is in the answering of questions that something within us responds and opens. Next, you can help. Before you come to the class, make sure that in your meditation that you do make contact with your source. You are all far enough along now so that you know when there is an answering response from within you. You know when there is a click, when God is on the field. It is as if you were giving a treatment, and you knew that you couldn't afford to stop that treatment until you had the assurance within you that God is on the scene. And so it is. In order to receive anything from the class, you have to bring something to the class. And that which you bring to the class is your conscious oneness with God. And there are two reasons for that. One is that in bringing God consciousness to this room, you lift up the entire consciousness of the room. And secondly, when I speak to you from spiritual consciousness, you can understand it, receive it, respond to it, only if you yourself are in the Spirit. You do remember the saying that it takes a Christ to recognize a Christ. Well, so it is. It takes spiritual discernment to recognize truth. If it weren't for this, we would need a football stadium for all of the people who would be attending our classes. But the reason we don't require it, and probably never will, is because it requires a degree of spiritual consciousness in order to understand this message, or any message of a spiritual nature. Therefore, to make contact with your source, to know that Spirit is on the field, is to assure the fact that you will not be coming here with only an intellect, but that you will be bringing with you an inspired state of consciousness so that you can help to bring out an inspired message, and then secondly, understand it when it is delivered. And while we are on this subject of bringing, let me remind you once again that before we came into this room, it was just a room. There was no love in it, and there was no hate in it. There was no prosperity in it, and there was no poverty in it. It was just a blank room. Now we have come in, and I'm sure that anyone of any spiritual impulse at all could come into this room right now and feel the love that is in this room. They would feel the vibration of the Spirit here. They would feel an atmosphere of respect, of love, of life, of spirit, of soul, of purity. And the reason is we brought it here. That is what we brought in our consciousness, and we have filled this room with it. And as long as we sit here, not desiring anything of each other, not wanting anything that the other has, just being here in a spirit of joy and of friendship and of sharing, free offering, free giving, you can rest assured that the Spirit of God will pervade this room. But remember that the Spirit of God is not something outside of us that comes down here to us because we deserve it. There is nothing like that. The Spirit of God is the love that is within you and which you express. And therefore, love is unexpressed until we express it for someone else. But it must be expressed by individual you and me. Otherwise, love remains unexpressed. God remains absent. Now, this is a mystery and a miracle. This is a mystery to all of the world. The world does not understand why it is that God is absent from this world, and God permits atrocities, and God permits accidents, and God permits sins and awful diseases. But here and now in this room, you have proof that this is not true. God does not permit it. Man brings it about by withholding God from the scene. God has no power to do other than what God is doing, being at the center of your being and my being. And if that God is to come into expression, we must open out a way for the imprisoned splendor to escape. God is always locked up within the consciousness, the life, the soul of every individual. But that individual must open up a way, must release God, must let themselves be a transparency through which God can escape. And in this room, at this very moment, you have a concrete evidence of the truth of this, because it was apparent to you when I came on this platform that your love enveloped me, embraced me, and brought forth an emotion from me. Your love did that. The atmosphere of your spirit did that. It wasn't this room, and it wasn't in this room before you came here. And it is only because you were here and because you let loose that love. You felt it, you expressed it, and therefore it had being. Now, there shall no evil come nigh thy dwelling place. There shall no evil come nigh this room, nor anyone in this room, while God is flowing forth from us as love, spirit, appreciation, recognition, gratitude, joy, peace. As long as we entertain a feeling of peace toward each other, no harm can come nigh any individual in this room. Just imagine the responsibility that we have once you begin to perceive that you can be an instrument through which love, safety, security, harmony, health can touch the lives of your friends, of your relatives, of your acquaintances. We can be the instruments through which divine love envelops them. How? Not by personally loving them. We do that anyhow. It is not a sense of personal love. It is in the degree that we permit God to flow out from us by this divine love, the love that seeks no return. There is only one way that you can tell whether your love is personal or divine, whether your love is sensual or spiritual. And that is in this way. Are you, through your love or from your love, are you seeking a return? Do you seek a return of any nature, even a thank you? If you do, it is not divine love. It is personal sense of love. The divine love operates exactly as the sun does. The sun shines and it expresses light and warmth, but it seeks no gratitude. It seeks no reward. It seeks no payment. The rain falls, and it blesses the ground upon which it falls. It fertilizes the ground. It brings forth life from the seed. But it seeks nothing in return. Its love is impersonal. Its love is divine. So it is with God. God expresses itself as this universe, as you and as me. God stocks the oceans with fish and the air with birds. God sets up cattle on 1,000 hills and crops in the ground and fruits on the tree, and God seeks no return, not even thank you. Without any thank yous, and even if man did not believe in God, and if all the world were atheistic, still the earth would bring forth its good, and so would the skies. And the reason is that God is beyond any personal sense, and therefore expresses love, expresses life, expresses truth, justice, equity, and seeks no return. And we are expressing divine love when we bless, when we recognize the Christly nature of every individual, human or animal, vegetable or mineral, whether or not anyone else is conscious of it. Our recognition of Christ, the spiritual Son, as the true identity of all, this is expressing divine love. To forgive not only those who offend us, but those who are offending the whole world, those who offend the ideas of liberty, of freedom, justice. To forgive. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. This is an expression of divine love. We are not seeking recognition for it. We are not seeking a return. We're not seeking payment. We're not asking anybody's thanks. We are doing it as a part of our spiritual nature. And so it is that as this room is filled with the Spirit of God, divine love, which you have loosed, you have emptied or poured forth, rather, into this room that Spirit of God, that love of God, and you have made of it a temple of God. And this room is a temple of God, and nothing can come nigh this room, or anyone in it, that defileth or maketh a lie. And so by this you see that it is the activity of your consciousness that makes of this place a temple of God, a place of purity, a place of abundance, a place of safety and security. But now you are further charged with the responsibility of doing this in your home. God cannot come to your home. You can open out a way for the imprisoned splendor of God to escape into your home, and you can do it by forgiving those in your home who offend you or who have offended, and who probably in their ignorance may offend again. And 70 times 7 it will be necessary to forgive them, in the sense of not blaming them, not holding them responsible, realizing always, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And in the same way then, in beholding the Christ of every individual and loving the Christ of every individual, you are loosing divine love, God, the Spirit of God, into your home. And so it is that by your own acts, and more especially when you are in meditation, when you come to that part of your meditation where you no longer think or speak, but realize, speak, Lord, thy servant heareth, and then wait, and let the presence of God make itself evident to you. And then again, you have opened out a way for the imprisoned splendor to escape. You have released the atmosphere of God into your home. Throughout the day, regardless of the temptation that comes to you, and remember that as long as we are in the world, temptations will be coming our way. And every time a temptation comes to you to accept a presence other than God, a power other than God, an activity other than God, you are being called upon, you as a student, you as a disciple of the Christ are being called upon to realize instantly, and if necessarily constantly, that there is but one power, and that power is within me. There is no power external to me for either good or evil. All power emanates from my own consciousness, and it is good as long as I do not accept two powers, as long as I do not accept the belief that there is a power of evil. While I I hold to the truth that all power is within me. There is no power external to me, neither for good nor for evil. While you walk around your home in that consciousness, morning to night, when you're awake night to morning, remembering all the power of God is within you. Why? The kingdom of God is neither low here nor low there. The kingdom of God is within you. Therefore, the power of God is within you. The presence of God is within you, and you must release it. You must release it by conscious recognition of the truth. All power is within me. God has given me dominion over all that is in the earth, and all that is in the air, and all that is in the sky, all that is in the waters beneath the earth. God has given me dominion. God has not given dominion to these over me. As you live and move and have your being in that truth, the presence and power of God is being loosed into your home, and you will find it as present there as I'm sure you are finding it present in this room now. And for the same reason, you have loosed it. Now, as you leave your home, you will be given the further responsibility. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Now, where is the presence of the Lord? Where is the Spirit of the Lord? Where you are. The place whereon thou standest is holy ground. The kingdom of God is within you. Therefore, the Spirit of God, the presence of God, is where you are. And where you are, there is liberty. There is freedom from sin, from disease, from lack, from limitation. Where you are is holy ground. Unless you hold yourself in that attitude and in that altitude, do not expect anyone else in the world to do it. You must live and move and have your being in the realization that where I am, God is, for I and the Father are one. The place whereon I stand is holy ground, because I and my Father are here. Because, Son, thou art ever with me. Son, thou art ever with me. Wherever God is, you are. Wherever you are, God is. Inseparable, indivisible. Therefore, wherever you are, the Spirit of peace is, and the Spirit of forgiveness, and the Spirit of blessing, and the Spirit of benediction, and the Spirit of healing, and the Spirit of supply, and the Spirit of safety and of security, where you are. Now remember, always it has been taught in religion that where God is, all of these great and glorious things are. But now you have to take the next step. You must remember that you are never any place but where God is. And God is never any place but where you are. Please, unless you can make the realization yours of the oneness of God and individual you, you will be having freedom, peace, joy, harmony in God somewhere 1 billion miles away, and wondering why it does not come to you. The grace of God can only come where it is acknowledged, recognized, released. The kingdom of God is where you are. If you make your bed in hell, declare that God is here where I am in this very hell. And in the realization of that, hell turns into heaven. If you make your bed in the shadow of death, declare that God is here where I am, right here, in the valley of the shadow of death. And you will find death becoming life. It is only in the sense of separation from God that we can know discord, inharmony, poverty, and all of these conditions of earth. But in our conscious union with God, and I emphasize that word conscious, and those of you who read the writings and hear the tapes, please watch how many times your attention is called to that word conscious. It is your conscious knowing of this truth. It is your conscious remembrance of God's presence. It is your consciousness of the presence of God. It is your conscious awareness of God's grace being closer to you than breathing and nearer than hands and feet. Do you not see that what transpires in your life is determined either by your knowledge of truth or by your ignorance of truth? In the degree of your conscious knowing of the truth, are you made free of the discords, the material sense. In proportion to your conscious awareness of your oneness with God, are you also made aware of your oneness with all good. In the ignorance of your relationship to God, there is a sense of separation from God. And you readily agree that in the presence of God, all is lovely. But then you have separated yourself from that presence, and so you are not experiencing it. It is only when you bring the two together consciously and realize, yes, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty, but the Spirit of the Lord is where I am. Here where I am is the Spirit of the Lord, for I and my Father are one. Here where I am, up in heaven, down in hell, or in the valley of the shadow of death. Here where I am, God is. Here where I am, God's grace is functioning. Here where I am is the fullness of life. In thy presence is fullness of joy. Where is thy presence? Here where I am. Unless you bring the two together, you're going to have God over here where all the good is, and you over here wondering how to bring it here. And you can't bring it there. All you can do is bring God there. When you bring God there, you will find all good there. Now, it isn't that you really bring God there, for I and the Father are always one. It is that you bring here the conscious awareness of God's presence where I am. In other words, everything transpires within your consciousness. And now that we are entering the classwork on the development and demonstration of transcendental or spiritual consciousness, I must say to you that there is no possibility of success beyond your capacity to consciously bring God and yourself into oneness, into conscious oneness. Only in your capacity to accept God as the very life of your being here where I am, in your capacity to understand that, Son, thou art ever with me, all that I have is thine, and rest in that word. Rest and relax. Don't struggle for what you shall eat or what you shall drink or wherewithal you shall be clothed. Don't struggle for happiness. Above all things, release that struggle for happiness, for you cannot find it. All that you can find is your conscious relationship with God. When you have found that, you will find that happiness is one of those things added unto you. The whole world is seeking happiness, safety, security, peace, and it isn't finding one of them. And it is trying it through Judaism, through Christianity, Vedantism, and all the religions of the world, and it isn't finding it. And it never is going to find it until it finds it in conscious living, in conscious relationship of oneness with the source of life, the fountain of life, God. And until you come to the realization that God constitutes your individual consciousness, God constitutes your individual life, God constitutes your individual being, and the infinity of God is the infinity of your individual experience. All that the Father hath is the measure of your allness. Now, since this can come about in no other way than through your consciousness, this is the night for you to awaken and realize that your life is going to become exactly the outpicturing of your own state of consciousness, that there are no powers of good operating outside for you, whether it's called God or the study of the stars or the falling of the tea leaves, that there are no powers outside of you for good, but on the other hand, there are no powers of evil to operate upon you, no powers of the past, the present, or the future to operate upon you, because God has given you dominion and you have it. And that dominion lies not in going around using a power over other things or persons. That dominion comes in realizing that I and the Father are one, and that all emanates from within my own being. All good flows out from me as I express divine love. Then you will find first that your body is the temple of God, and it is now being governed by spiritual law instead of the law of weather or climate or infection or contagion or accident. Your body now is being governed by spiritual law the very moment that you acknowledge there are no powers external to me, and the power of life and of immortality, the power of strength, the power of beauty, the power of youth, these flow out from within my own being by the grace of God. For God has given me dominion through my conscious oneness with Him. Therefore, the life of God is my life. The health of God is the health of my countenance. Now, I am emphasizing this point for you tonight because we are making a step forward and upward tonight. We are taking a conscious step. We are declaring consciously that there are no powers external to me for good or for evil. There are no powers acting upon my life or my body except the powers of God which flow out from within me. The presence of God within me is the life and the law of God unto my being, unto my body, unto my health, unto my home, unto my business, my art, my profession. All that the Father hath is embodied within me, and I am loosing it and letting it go out to bless. Withdraw, since you must come out and be separate, withdraw from the world the power of universal belief that has heretofore acted upon you, and has even made it act in accordance with a calendar. Now, there is no reason why you should look your age or anything near it, except ignorance of the truth. And the truth is that your age can only be measured in eons, for you're as old as God. For God is the only life that is your life. It is ageless, it is immortal. There's no excuse for the body running down, for the body has no power to run down. For God is the life of the body. God is the sunshine of the body. God is the strength of the body. God is the health of the body. And God is timeless and ageless. So it is. All of this takes place in your consciousness through your consciousness. You cannot sit back and look for a God power to come and do something for you. And on the other hand, do not sit back and be afraid of any devil power acting upon you. For these can only happen in accord with your own acceptance of universal beliefs. Actually, God, the kingdom of God, the presence of God is within you, and the place whereon thou standest is holy ground. For I and the Father are here, for I and the Father are one and not two. Make this a law unto yourself by conscious recognition and realization, and then remember that you must repeat this dozens of times every day until it registers in your consciousness that you are not a mortal, that you are not living your life separate and apart from God, and that you're not inviting God to come to you and do something to you or for you, but ye shall know the truth. Ye shall know the truth. Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And the truth is, I and my Father are one. And all that the Father hath is mine here, where I am. My very mind and my very body is the temple of the living God. And God is in his temple. As you begin to live this, so that you make God the reality that God is, as you consciously accept this reality as your being, you will find that it is literally true that your body responds, and it begins to show forth signs of being the temple of the living God, and with God living in that temple. But then you take the next step and you realize that your home is likewise the temple of God. And God is in that temple. God is the love, the life, the abundance, the joy, the freedom of that home. God is the relationship between every individual in that home. And very soon you will find signs appearing of your home being no longer a house and no longer an abiding place for an assortment of human beings, each living their own life, but you will find in truth that your home is a temple of God, and in it dwells peace, safety, security, harmony, joy, love, and abundance of all good. But you have made it so by your conscious acceptance of God as the life of your mind and body and as the life of your home. After your home begins to show signs of being more like what a temple of God should be, then you can turn to your business, your art, your profession, and begin to understand that they are a temple of God. And God works in and through your business, your art, your profession. It is the intelligence of God that operates them. It is the love of God that operates them. It is the life of God that animates them. God really is the being of your business, art, profession, skill, ability, talent. And therefore, these are temples of God, and God is in his temple. After your business, your art, your profession, your talent, your skill or ability, after these begin to manifest themselves, show forth that they are the temple of God, now you've got the whole wide world to range in. And you can let your thought go to the elections that come up in November in the United States. You can let your thoughts go down into South Africa, where they're having problems of many natures. You can let your thoughts go to the United Nations. You can let your thoughts travel this globe and realize consciously that each one of these is a temple of the living God. The life of God maintains them. The love of God sustains them. The wisdom of God is the only law operating in them and through them and for them. Then do you not see that you are opening out a way for the imprisoned splendor of God to flow out from you and bless and be a benediction everywhere on the face of the globe? But I bring this to you as the very first lesson in mysticism, the first lesson in building a transcendental consciousness. Recognize that none of this can take place except through an activity of your own consciousness. None of this can happen to you, and none of it can happen to Africa or the United States or anywhere else. It all has to be released from within you, for peace on earth is stored up within you. Safety and security for the peoples of all nations are stored up within you. Prosperity for all is stored up within you. God has given you dominion over this entire earth, and above it and beneath it. And you must consciously accept it and release it. You must pour forth divine love unto all peoples, meaning forgiveness, meaning praying for your enemies, that their consciousness be opened, that they be touched by the Spirit of Christ. You must open out a way for this tremendous splendor of God to be released on earth as it is in heaven. And you must do all this without seeking a reward, without seeking gratitude, without seeking recognition. You must be very willing for the newspapers to come out with headlines the very next day, peace has been established on earth, and it all happened because Billy Graham was giving a crusade somewhere. You must be willing for that to happen, because you are not doing it for recognition or reward. You are doing it because you have been chosen. You have not chosen God. God has chosen you to be an instrument through which he can make his appearance on earth. Let everyone else get credit for it. What we want is the result. Peace on earth. If you can't demonstrate it in some measure in your own life and health and home, it might be a little bit far-fetched to believe that you are going to influence the affairs of nations. But from the very moment that you can bear witness to harmonies appearing in your mind and body and purse and in your home and among your friends or relatives, then you can be assured that there is no limit to the extent of blessings that you can bring to earth, because there is no such thing as a little bit of God. There is no such thing as a limited time or space of God's operation. Once God escapes from within you, it can envelop the earth, just as whatever measure of love and gratitude escaped from you as you came into this room, it filled this whole room with the presence of God. And we are not prepared to say that which you did here tonight is limited only to this room. How far and wide this may reach, how many of my patients or how many of the patients of some of you who are practitioners will benefit by the degree of life and love that was expressed here tonight, we will never know. But be assured of this: love cannot be confined to the space of a room, and so it has gone beyond this room. Come into these classes 15 minutes beforehand, those of you who can, and repeat what you have done here tonight. Be united, two or more gathered in one place, seeking nothing, desiring only to be an outlet through which God blesses this universe. No one yet has witnessed what can happen when two or more are gathered together in divine love, in the meeting in God for the purpose of being an instrument through which God reaches the world. When this is done unselfishly, unselfedly, only with the idea of being an instrument through which God flows, not one of us can know the result except this: every bit of good that flows out from you is instantly flowing back to you. The bread that you are casting on the water is the bread that ends up flowing back to you. No more bread can reach you than you cast on the waters. And be assured of this, we will someday acknowledge that the degree of our sicknesses, the degree of our lacks and limitations, is the exact measurement of love we did not release, is the exact measurement of bread that we did not cast out upon the waters. Someday, when we have the final word on spiritual healing, it will be discovered that all of our ills represents the love that we did not release. Oh, you have heard it said, God is the healer, or love is the healer, love is the liberator, love is the healing agency. What love? Whose love? There is no love but yours. There is no God sitting up on a cloud. There is no God hanging around somewhere giving love or withholding love. God is your being. And the love that you release is the measure of God love that reaches the rest of us. And the love that you do not release is stored up where moth and rust doth corrupt. It does you no good stored up, and it does us no good. Only the love that you release blesses this world and returns to bless you. Therefore, be assured of this. This is the meaning of give, and it shall be given unto you. Give, and it shall be given unto you. Give, and you will have. Give love. Give life. Give forgiveness. Give benediction. Give gratitude. Open out a way, because it is only what transpires in your consciousness that, in the last analysis, will govern your life. It is an activity of truth in your consciousness, and it must be a conscious activity of truth. Ye must know the truth constantly and consciously. The greatest truth you can possibly know is, I and my Father are one. Where God is, I am. Where I am, God is. For we are inseparable, indivisible. We are one, and all that the Father hath is mine. And this is a universal truth about my friends and my enemies. This is a universal truth about all mankind. This is a universal truth. So those who do not know it, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Another thing. The world does not like the teachings of Jesus Christ. It does not wish to be reminded that as ye sow, so shall ye reap. It does not like to be reminded that if you sow to the Spirit, you will reap life everlasting, but if you sow to the flesh, you will reap corruption. It does not like to be reminded that it profiteth you nothing to pray for your friends. You must pray for your enemies. And if you would enter the mystical way of life, you have got to learn to love the message of Jesus Christ and to be willing to live it. You must accept it, not because it's the message of Jesus Christ, because it has been given to us by others back unto, well, there are written records of these teachings 1,500 years B.C. But at least we do have them in our teaching of Jesus Christ, and we have accepted him as teacher, as leader, as way shower. So why not accept the fact that we must live these principles And among these principles is this, that what you sow is what you reap. And if you, in your conscious life, are sowing spiritually, that is, with love, if you are sowing this world of forgiveness, blessing, benediction, if you are giving these treatments of truth to the world, that is the spiritual world that you are going to reap. If you are sowing along these spiritual lines that we have outlined tonight, that is the spiritual life you are going to reap. Those who continue to live in the belief that God is off there somewhere, or that you can ignore God and just pray for supply or companionship or home and leave God out of your life, that's what they will demonstrate. Nothing more, nothing less. Shadows. Substanceless shadows. Now, since we know that it is your sowing that constitutes your reaping, let us sow spiritually. Let us live consciously in this realization of our oneness. Let us not look to man whose breath is in his nostril for our supply, or for our happiness, or safety, or security. Let us realize, let us not even look to a God somewhere for it. Let us realize we already have it embodied within our consciousness, and what we must do is give it to others. We already have it. We must stop seeking, and we must give from the storehouse we already have. The whole storehouse of God is available to you because you have consciously made yourself one with the life stream, with the source of life, with the source of infinity, and therefore infinity is flowing through you. You don't ever, after this minute, have to seek your good, but you must seek ways of sharing your good. You must consciously acknowledge the infinity of God as omnipresence within your consciousness, and then seek only ways of bestowing it. But don't seek those ways openly or externally, only secretly and silently. Let them flow out from you. Remember, we do not wish to do our alms to be seen of men. And we do not wish to do our praying to be seen of men. Whatever we do, we're going to do in the secrecy of our own inner consciousness. We are going to go and tell no man what things we know. Never divulge this until the time comes when it is so evident in your life that when others come to ask of you, that you can share it. Without being asked, keep the fingers on the lips. Be still and know that I am God. But be still about it. Be still and know that I am God. Let others recognize, let others seek, and then share. Meanwhile, fingers on the lips, remembering all of this truth is as a seed within your consciousness, and as of this moment you are going to let this seed take root in you. You're going to fertilize it every day by consciously remembering it, by consciously expressing it, silently, secretly, sacredly, until this seed has grown and blossomed out into a tree full of fruit. Then those that come seeking that fruit, share it with them liberally, because the more you give of it, the more will take its place. But if you start giving it before it's yours, you'll have nothing left to grow. You'll be giving your seeds away. And there'll be nothing left for you but barrenness. Keep these seeds of truth locked up within you. Work with them. Study with them. Meditate with them. Pray with them. Use them within you to bless. But go and tell no man. Keep it locked up. And then when your whole life is full of beautiful, ripe fruit, share it with those who recognize it and want it. In this way, the day will eventually come when you too will be called upon to share, to heal, to teach. But wait patiently, patiently, patiently. Don't give away your seeds. Wait until you've got a strong, strong tree just overladen with fruit. Now, you see then that what transpires in your life is really the externalization of your own state of consciousness. And therefore, the spiritual truth that you maintain, this is what makes up the nature of your life, of your health, of your supply, of all the things of life to you.